Hey guys, Auctioneer Heather here. So I wanted to hop on today because we just had a real estate auction close, and I think it's a perfect example of a lot of different things when to use the auction process, when it really is a tool that can work for you, when you are a bidder and like you choose to participate. So first of all, the seller had an asset, and he also had another purchase that he wanted to make somewhere else. And for him to be able to do that, he needed to sell the asset that he had by the end of the month. And so because of his need, he used his asset as a tool and used the auction method as a mechanism to reach that goal. Now, are we there quite yet? No, but we exceeded the amount that he needs, and we have a closing scheduled for the end of this month. So that is a great example of how to take an asset and use it to convert your assets into cash to get something else that you want. And now I want to talk about the bidders and the agents who showed up. So when he decided that he needed it by the end of the month, we made some changes. We changed the list price on the MLS to the opening bid price, which was very close to what his reserve needed to be. We did the kind of things, anyways, we would market it in a way in which the people knew that he was motivated to sell it. Did that have some agents asking what's wrong with it, or some prospective buyers? Absolutely. But then once you had the opportunity to say he needs to convert these assets into cash by the end of the month, and this is what he wanted to do, and then we move on, and everybody comes and they take a look and they do the things. But the thing that's interesting about this is this property was on the market several months. What we tend to do is we put a price that would compel the seller to remove it from the auction block. We had people look at it, but we never had any offers written up and to move forward. And so when I talked with him and he had this need, we did this. Well, now all of a sudden, I would say that we had 4 to 5 people who some hadn't seen it before. A couple had looked at it before. And all of a sudden, it motivated them to move. And of that 4 or 5, I guess you could say 6, because what I'm saying now is where we get to the sifting process. So, like, there's certain things that we all have to do to buy a property, right? We have to have an interest. We've got to get our money together. We've got to take a look at the property. I mean, you don't necessarily have to, but typically you take a look at the property, you inspect it to make sure you know what you're buying. Some people have to get financing in order. So here is where, of those 6 people, your real prospects are rising to the top, right? Only one person can buy it. So in all this, there were about 4 who were doing all of the things necessary to be able to purchase this property at auction in the time frame that the seller wanted. And when it came to auction, we had about 4 people register, and one was one that's just been watching the property ever since it hit the market because they watched the area. And some of the ones who said they were interested weren't registered, so we call, we check in, and at the end of the day, the reason they didn't is because they couldn't do the due diligence and they waited too long to be able to show us that they had the funds or the financing secured. Mind you, this property has been on the market it was on the market before I had it. And so I've had it 3 to 4 months. So what the auction process did is it brought the people that were most likely to purchase this property in the time frame together to reveal the fair market value in that time at that moment. And does the seller think that he might have been able to get more? Yes, but it's not as if he hadn't been trying. So at this time, in this moment, he could convert his asset into cash to purchase the other asset that he wanted. And so it wound up being a win-win for all parties. And it happened. But there's a couple of lessons in this. You have to be willing to participate. You can't hope that the person is going to change what their terms are, because that is the other interesting. And guys, this happens after almost any online real estate auction I do. People think that it's not going to sell. And does a property not sell sometimes? Absolutely. But they don't think it's going to sell, so then we get agents calling us wanting to show the property the next day. Well, it's under contract. And so, listen, 9.5 times out of 10, it is going to go through with that high bidder. You're not going to need a backup offer. We will still accept backup offers in certain cases. But it's ultimately, you snooze, you lose. And you're either going to engage and participate, or you are going to take the risk in not doing that. Either way, you have risk involved. If you participate in the auction, it's all on you. You bid or you don't. If you don't participate, you are losing out on an opportunity. You know, one of my favorite lines that people tell us is, "Oh, I would have given more for that." You would have? Do you know that you could have? Did you have the assets in hand? Why didn't you bid? And I don't mean to be rough or gruff or anything about it, but at the end of the day, you're given the opportunity, and you choose to participate or you choose not to. And in my life experience, waiting to see what happens does not typically lead to favorable results. So again, I thought this was a great opportunity to share real world, real time, the type of things that happen, and the things that I really wish like everyone would just help themselves, like help them get and purchase what they want. That is what I would wish for everybody, and not to just bypass something because it's not the way everybody does it. It's an opportunity for you to fairly purchase a property. Everybody's playing by the same rules, and the only thing you're doing by not participating is putting yourself at a disadvantage.